So the election timeline. So obviously there's a consolidated primary, which is February 28th, 2023, and the consolidated general election, which is April 4th, 2023. And the petition filing procedures, we'll go over those. So the circulation period is 90 days before the last day for filing. So we are well into the circulation period at this point. For this consolidated primary, it started August 30th. And for the consolidated election, it started September 20th. So those are being circulated at this point. Some more people here. So the filing period for the primary, it's November 21st through November 28th. Now, obviously, you're all probably going to be closed at least for Thanksgiving. Just make sure to be publicizing that you're going to be closed for Thanksgiving. A lot of you will probably be closed that Friday as well. We are closed that Friday at the state board. So it's okay if you're going to be closed Friday for Thanksgiving as well. Just make sure that you make it public so that people know that you're going to be closed. And then for the consolidated election, the filing period is December 12th through December 19th. So petitions, the suggested forms are available in our candidates guide, but candidates don't have to use those suggested forms. They can create their own forms based on what's in the statute. They just need to include the relevant language and the information required by state law. So the local election officials often offer candidate packets to potential candidates, but this isn't required, it's just a courtesy. But these packets often include office hours during the filing period, locations and mailing address to file petitions, the time to be present for opening hour and lottery eligibility, the time to be present for opening hour, oh, I already said that, and lottery eligibility, blank copies of the proper suggested forms, the statement of candidacy, the nomination petitions, the statement of economic interest, and instructions to file with the county clerk, the loyalty oath, which is optional, the signature requirements, and any additional information you may feel is relevant. So circulation petitions frequently ask questions and reminders. So circulators only need to be US citizens. So they don't have to be 18 at the time they're circulating. They can be 18 on election day. So that is April 4th. So circulators can only circulate petitions for one political party. They can't circulate petitions for independent candidates and new political parties or for more than one new political party. Circulators cannot circulate petitions for new political party candidates and established political party candidates, and blank nomination papers may be reproduced prior to circulation, but signatures of circulators and notary publics must be original. Signing petitions frequently ask questions and reminders. So they must sign their own signature. They can't sign for somebody else. So basically what we see often is like somebody signs for their wife or their husband. So this is not something you can do. You have to sign for yourself and only for yourself. So they have to be registered in the same political subdivision as the candidate seeking nomination. So basically this just means that you have to be eligible to sign, or you have to be eligible to vote for the person you're signing for. So they may not sign a petition for a candidate of more than one political party for the same election. They may sign petitions for one established party for a primary election and a new political party or independent candidate for the following general election. So petition filing. Do not accept any petitions before opening hour, and this includes mailed in petitions. Do not accept any petitions after 5 p.m. on closing hour. Or your closing day. So this also includes mailed in petitions. So if somebody mailed in a petition and it got there before or after opening hour or closing hour, they're tough out of luck. So you want to date and time stamp petitions when they are filed and issue a receipt to the filer. The petitions can be filed by a candidate, an agent of the candidate, or by mail. And the petition should be made available for public inspection after they are filed. So opening hour, what's the big deal? So simultaneous filers are eligible for the first spots on the ballot. If multiple candidates are waiting in line when the office opens on the first day of filing, they're placed in a lottery to determine the order they are placed on the ballot. So opening hour is considered 8 a.m. or the first day of filing or the normal opening hour of your office. So if you don't usually open at 8 a.m. and you normally open at 9 a.m., that's fine. That's considered your opening hour. All people with petitions in line at the time of opening shall be deemed filed during opening hour. All petitions filed by mail and received after midnight on the first day of filing and the first mail delivery of the day shall be deemed as filed in opening hour. And where 2 or more petitions are received simultaneously, a lottery shall be held to determine ballot order. So regardless of your office's regular closing hours, you must stay open until 5 p.m. on the last day to file. That's generally an unpopular thing, but that is in the statute that you have to stay open until 5 p.m. on the last day. So if 2 or more petitions are filed within the last hour, they shall be deemed filed simultaneously. And where 2 or more petitions are received simultaneously, a lottery will be held to determine ballot order. So the caucus. So the caucus would be held December 5th, 2022, if you have one. So who holds caucuses? Municipalities under 5,000 in population, as well as townships not elected during the 2023 election cycle. They may hold caucuses to nominate their candidates. A notice should be posted or published with the dates and location of the caucus. So voter participation in the caucus, only those registered voters who reside within the territory for which the nomination is made shall be permitted to vote or take part in the caucus proceedings. And no voter shall vote or take part in the proceedings of more than one caucus or meeting to make a nomination for the same office. So caucus proceedings. The caucus may make one nomination for each office to be filed with the consolidated election. A certificate of nomination by caucus, which is SBE Form H2, shall be prepared to include the names and addresses of candidates, along with the offices for which they are nominated in the established party name. The presiding officer and secretary of the caucus shall list their addresses and sign the certificate of nomination. And the certificate shall be sworn by them to be true to the best of their knowledge and belief and be notarized. Apparent conformity. So this is something you might not think about a lot, but at the State Board of Elections, we think a lot about apparent conformity. So the statute does not define exactly what apparent conformity is or what it means for a petition to be in apparent conformity, but because there is no exact definition in the statute, it's important for you to have a written policy in place and a criteria to refer to as to what you consider apparent conformity. This is what the statute says about apparent conformity. It just says that your petitions, when you file them, should be in apparent conformity. So at the state board, our policy is to review all nominating petitions filed to confirm that a statement of candidacy has been filed. Let me mute somebody. I can hear somebody, sorry. And that nominating sheets containing gross signatures are equal to or exceeding 10% of the minimum number of signatures required for the office sought. Those petitions who fail to meet apparent conformity are notified in writing and given the opportunity to appear before our board at the first meeting held to call petition objection cases before a determination is made to reject the candidate's petition on the basis of nonconformity. So these are just some potential things you could list in your written policy. And remember that you are not the police when it comes to inspecting a petition for compliance. Petitions are generally taken at face value unless there is an obvious deficiency. So maybe they literally forgot their statement of candidacy. And remember that you're looking for general compliance with filing requirements. So a review of a number of signatures filed and a certain percentage required. It can be anything from 1 signature to 100% of signatures required. Make sure the candidate meets the residency, age, or other office qualification requirements. The statement of candidacy is filed and or notarized. Petition sheets are numbered consecutively. The petition sheets are properly bound. The petition sheets are properly notarized. The statement of economic interest receipt is attached if applicable. And obviously you can add other things to your policy if you'd like. Those are just suggestions. All right, and now the lottery. So the lottery is held for people who were filed simultaneously. In order to be eligible for the lottery, you must be first ballot position for candidates who were in line at the time that the office opened on the first day to file. Final ballot positions are for the candidates who filed between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m. on the final date to file. And a lottery is only necessary if there are more than one candidate who filed for a given position. So basically, if two people file at the same time, but they don't file for the same office, you don't have to have a lottery. But if two people file at the same time and they file for the same office, then you have to have a lottery. So it must be conducted within 9 days following the last day for petition filing. It must be open to the public. You must provide 7 days written notice of the time and place the lottery will be conducted. Approved lottery procedures for simultaneous filings can be found in the State Board of Elections rules and regulations. And that's the admin code there. The number of all candidates who filed simultaneously for the same office shall be listed alphabetically and shall be numbered consecutively, starting with the number 1, which will be assigned to the candidate whose name is first on the alphabetical list. All ties will be broken by a single drawing. A number shall be placed in a container representing each number assigned to each candidate and a group of candidates pursuant to the alphabetical listing. After the numbers are placed in the container, they shall be drawn one at a time from the container after they have been shaken and mixed. The candidate in the position on the alphabetical list and corresponding to the first number drawn shall be certified ahead of the other candidates, and the second drawn will be certified to the second, and so forth. Now, if you find this confusing, which it does seem kind of confusing when you just read it out, I do have a video available on our YouTube page, just kind of laying out the lottery a little bit more expanded so that you can view that and see kind of visually how the lottery works. So there is an alternative lottery methods, but they have to be approved by us before you can use those. So if you decide to use alternative lottery methods, you have to contact us before you can use those. Objections, everybody's favorite thing. So requirements of objections, just basically what is required before people can object. So objections must be filed within 5 business days after the last day for filing nomination papers. They have to be filed with the authority the original petition was filed with. So if you accepted the petition, you have to accept the objection. You can only accept the objection if it's filed in writing with an original and 2 copies. Objectors must live in the same jurisdiction or district as the candidate they are objecting to, and they must state their interest in the matter, identify the problem or deficiency with the petition or candidate, and the relief they seek in the objection. So reasons for objections. I mean, you've all probably seen ridiculous objections. The reasons for objections can be these, but they're not limited to. Not enough signatures from individuals who are not registered to vote, or voters who do not live in the candidate's district, candidate's residency, validity of signatures, qualifications of the candidates, content of the petitions, or failure to file a statement of economic interests. Writing candidates, we just kind of threw this in here because I didn't know where else to put it. So writing candidates must file a notarized declaration of intent to be a writing candidate no later than 61 days prior to the election. And they must file this with the county clerk or the Board of Elections, not us, but like the local Board of Elections, depending on where they're seeking to be a candidate. So they wouldn't file it with you, they would file it with your county clerk, or if you like live where there is a Board of Elections, that's where they would file it. If they are running for an office that is in multiple jurisdictions, they would need to file with each office. So a broad example of that is if you're running for governor, you technically should file with all 108 jurisdictions. If a candidate is removed from the ballot after certification or seeks judicial review, they may file as a write-in no later than 7 days prior to the election. A winning write-in candidate must file a statement of candidacy. And they must file a receipt of statement of economic interests and an optional loyalty oath, and that has to be filed within 10 days after the deadline to canvass. So public questions. So legally binding public questions are those authorized by a political subdivision, statute, i.e. like a school code, etc., or other statute like a revenue act, and the question of public policy which may have any legal effect shall be submitted by a referendum only as authorized by a statute or by the Illinois Constitution. And where a political subdivision or any other statute so provides, public questions of a legally binding effect may be initiated by ordinance or resolution adopted by the political subdivision's governing body. Furthermore, there may be a restriction set forth in the statute governing the referenda that limits the public question to a submission at a particular election. Can I define political subdivision? So that would be like a park district or like a township or a city council. So public question dates. January 3rd, 2023 is the last day for filing petitions for referenda for submission of question for public policy. The last day for governing boards to adopt a resolution or ordinance to allow a binding public question is January 17th. And the last day for park boards to authorize placement of advisory referenda on the ballot by resolution. Ballot certification. So by January 26th, you have to certify the names of all candidates who filed nominating petitions to your office in the order that they were filed or as determined by lottery to your EA in your political subdivision. Let me read that again. That was a fail. By January 26th, you must certify the names of all candidates whose nominating petitions have been filed in your office in the order they were filed or as determined by the lottery to your EA your political subdivision is located in, which is suggested SBE form G1A. That is my dog, sorry. But please contact your EA before you use our suggested form to see if they have a specific form they prefer you use. We have heard from some county clerks that they do actually have a form that they prefer you use rather than ours. So before you use ours, just contact your election authority just make sure that you don't use the wrong one. You don't want to do it twice. If a political subdivision is located in 2 or more counties, the certification shall be made to the election authority of each county. If a political subdivision is situated partially within a municipality under the jurisdiction of municipal board of election commissioners and partially within the county, the certification shall be made to both the board and the county clerk. Public questions initiated by petition or board resolution must also be certified to the election authority. This is also a suggested form by us, which is G1B. Again, contact your election authority. You never know, they might have a different form they prefer. So this is what our suggested form looks like for the certification of ballot. This is how you would fill it out. Of course, I'm sure you all live in Happyville. And as you see here, you just list which candidates, their terms in office, what office they're running for, whether it's nonpartisan, independent, and you can modify the form to add additional lines if needed. And this is what it looks like if you need to submit a public question. The petition was filed to initiate the question. You're going to click that a petition was filed and when it was filed. If it was passed by a board, you're going to click there, write in there that a resolution was filed. And this is just an example of a public question because I know last time we did this, some people had questions about what a public question was. So this is a good example of a public question. Shall bonds in the amount of a money amount be issued by the board of the community college district? No. Community college district number, so like number 228, county of and state of Illinois for the purpose of adding a skating rink. Bearing interest at the rate of not to exceed the maximum rate authorized by the Bond Authorization Act as amended at the time of making the contract. So ballot certification continued. If the electoral board or judicial review process is still pending, so if there was an objection and you guys are still working through the objection, or they didn't agree with the objection process and the candidate has taken it to the courts, you're going to need to write objection pending under the title of the office being sought by the candidate and next to the name of the candidate, just so that your election authority knows that that person may or may not be placed on the ballot. And if once this is relieved and everything is figured out, you need to provide an amended ballot certification to the election authority once it's resolved. All right, so now we're going to get to the questions. Before we get to the questions, I do want to encourage everybody to follow us. So I am the digital media coordinator at the State Board of Elections. So I do all the social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter at Illinois SBE. We're also on YouTube. And I share daily all sorts of information that people might not know. We're getting through the general election now, but especially next week, I'm going to start pushing out information about the consolidated election. We're going to start that push next week. I've got it, starting to plan it now. So we're going to have a lot of helpful information for you guys and for voters. And we'd really appreciate it if you share it, get it out to the voters, get some eyes on it. The more people who share it, the more eyes we get on it.